What's up, everybody? Welcome to the check-in. We got a really special show today, like every other show, but this one is super special because I have a woman that is not only my friend, but I admire tremendously, Miss Heather the Heat Hardy. Welcome to the show, Heat.
You have to unmute yourself. You are muted, Heather. I don't know how you did
Is
that.
is her
There you
picture
go.
on the screen or no?
Yes, she's on the screen. All right, give me a sec here.
Hello?
I
We
see
hear
her
you.
now.
I see you. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay.
All right, so we officially New York in it today. We've got the Knicks and
Yes.
the Yankees. We representing.
yes,
I
yes.
was I was checking for you in the gym today. I went up to Gleason's looking for you, but
Yeah,
I
I
know
must
you're
have
an
left
early
maybe
bird.
10:30. Yeah, I'm in there
Yeah,
early.
you're an early bird there. So, but yeah, so I really wanted you on this show because number one, I've always admired you, right? And we have, I feel like similar backgrounds.
Hmm.
Um, we're both women that had children really early in our lives, both in boxing. And I admired you so much because you actually kept it going in the actual field of fighting. And
Thanks.
we're tremendously successful in doing that. Um, as a mom, like where did you find like the drive to keep going, knowing that you weren't getting the big paydays early in the career and just getting those couple $1,000s here and there? Like what kept you motivated to keep in the sport the way that you did?
Well, I think that I just believe that God had me on the right path and that you have to keep proving yourself over time that you deserve to be here. So every fight and every small paycheck, while it was supplemented with tons of other jobs to keep me and Annie floating, I just felt like I was chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And here we are.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that when fighters, especially women, are coming up in the game, that you guys make very, very little money. By chance, do you have any headphones?
No,
Because we're getting like terrible feedback.
I can't help you, my friend. I have no headphones.
Oh no. All right. Well, we're gonna work with it how we can work with it. Um, but yeah, so like I know some of the purses coming up were probably not enough to even pay the back bills that you had before you even got into the fight. The check was already gone. At what point in your career did you actually start seeing substantial money that was like enough to where you could like say, okay, I can like take a break from my day job?
It's funny, it still hasn't happened yet, to be honest. Like my whole career, I've always kind of strived to as high as I could to put my daughter in the best seat that I could afford for her to have. So I was always either kind of digging myself out of the hole or just sitting on top of the hole now with no more money left and the process kind of just kept going. And I could have stayed in Garrettson Beach and kind of thrived and succeeded, but I guess because I just have always been chasing that, I've never really seen a time when the money was enough for it because I've always worked harder saying he could have more. Now my daughter isn't just living in the best neighborhood or going to the best after school programs, but she's in, university in a dorm room. So I'm always going to keep trying to provide more.
Absolutely. So like during those times when you would go back to the gym after a big fight, was was that like a humbling thing for you? Like how did you deal with that?
It wasn't humbling because there was no difference. It's not like I'd been kicked back to it, right? Like, it's not like I had ever been treated like a champion and then realized, like, oh, wait, she's a girl. Don't treat her like a champion. It's just always how it's been. I won the Golden Gloves, came back in the gym. Won nationals, back in the gym. You know, won my first title, back in the gym. First world title, back in the gym. It's just what the girls do and always have done. So it sucks, but it's a beautiful thing to see the girls coming up now with such higher goals and different paychecks and on a different path.
Right. And do you feel like at this stage in the game that women are finally getting their just dues, or do you think that there's still a long way to go?
Of course, there's a long way to go. I mean, like, no freedom till we're equal, right? And even the girls who are making in the millions right now are not making what the guys are making. So it's like the old saying, just because it's the biggest paycheck I ever got doesn't mean it's the one that
No, there's that.
um to keep being that person. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at the fights with you and Amanda Serrano, um, that's like, I guess you could compare it to like the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney of today, right? Like you guys, knew each other in the amateurs, around the same age. They're West Coast rivals. You guys were New York rivals. And the amount of money that you made isn't even a drop in the bucket compared to what these guys are making. So like how, like, I don't want to say like how does it make you feel, but what do you think that women have to do in order to like kind of even the playing field?
Well, I think that we're doing everything we can, and if there was a magic answer, then the girls in the '70s who were marching in Washington would have figured that out for us, right? It's like we just have to keep doing everything we're doing.
So you did Bellator, right? So
Sure,
is the
yeah.
pay there any different, or is it a little better there?
It's a lot better when MMA fighters start out because men and women make the same amount on the entry level. And when I was offered my Bellator fight, I was already a WBC champion and already a known ticket seller in New York, and the fight was going to be at MSG. So I was offered a purse that most men or women weren't offered at the time. So I can't speak to what kind of a purse they would offer me today, whether or not I would take it. But at that point in my career, when boxing and MMA for females lined up, um, I was making this. I made more for my MMA debut than I did when I won my world title in HBO on HBO.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So they do make substantially more in like UFC, or do you know about that or no?
Not it's not really at like a championship level. They're not making championship level boxing money, um, but entry level or like below 10 fights, it's definitely much better compensated.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, like, if boxing was its own entity, like if we had one big promoter, which we all know that will never happen, um, that they could market the women differently and, make superstars out of women the way that they do in the UFC, because it's just one big umbrella and they have control over, the marketing and the pay, all these other things. And it's sad that, when it comes to boxing, that it's just so different for the women.
Sure, I don't think it's like that anymore. I think that when I was coming up, when social media was still in its infancy and before the girls boxed in the Olympics, things were different. And I think now girls like Clarissa and Amanda have opened so many doors for the women coming up. It's almost like
And
they have
yourself.
the same opportunities, right? Like there are so many opportunities for women right now. So I don't even feel like that's unfair. I think the only thing, of course, is the pay, but the opportunities are there. Women's value has grown. The market has seen that value and responded to it. I mean, the girls who have done their part on social media and made their following and proved who they were, whether it was through the sport or through the business, they're getting paid and doing well right now. So I think women in this industry are in a really good position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, there's a situation right now going on with Chantel Cameron and Matchroom in regards to like the Katie Taylor fight, the third one, and you know, she's basically saying that, you know, that she's worth more than what they're offering. And I don't know what they're offering, but um, you know, she's just really complaining about the pay. Do you think that the third fight would be worth more than the first two?
That is not even for me to say, no, call, or decide, right? Because often fights aren't valued by how hard they are, they're valued by how much money they gross. So I've had wars and gotten paid less than some of my big platforms that I've gotten paid, so I don't want to speak to if someone is getting under overpaid, or especially for a fight like them girls had. How could I even say that?
Right. I mean, I think that you definitely are a pioneer in the sport and could should have gotten paid probably double what you were paid for that fight. Now, when you fought Amanda the first time, did wasn't Devin on the undercard? Like, wasn't
No,
he
I
like a
think
co-main event?
no. Haney was the main event, I believe.
Haney was the main event.
It was at MSG.
Yeah, it was at the Hulu theater, right? Or was it in the big
Yeah.
big one?
It was at the Hulu. Me and Amanda were the co-main. That was in 2019, and Devin Haney was the main event.
Now, I remember being at that fight and remember after the co-main event, after you guys fought, like half of the arena left.
Yeah, Haney
And
wasn't really known at the time, so they used me and
but
Amanda
he's
to sell
still getting
tickets.
paid more than you.
Sure.
How does that make you feel? Like knowing that you sold all those tickets as a woman, but you're still fighting the co-main and you're still getting paid less, but selling more tickets.
Well, it kind of speaks to the investment, right? The reason why Haney made $200,000 is because somebody at one point invested that money in him. And that money was never invested in me and Amanda because when we came up, we were seen as nobodies in the sport. So when I think about that, what would people would assume would make me mad, it made me really sad. Sad for all the girls like me and Melissa Hernandez, Belinda Larquente, Alicia Ashley, right? The girls who gave everything to this sport and nobody saw our potential and invested in us. So that's why we aren't getting that money. The beautiful thing is that girls like Clarissa Shields, who've shown that, Katie Taylor's, who've shown that we can win gold medals, people are investing that money in them now, and that's why these girls are making money on the big stage. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's sad for some of us who did
Right.
everything we could and just could never get our heads above water. Grateful to myself, girls like me and Ronica, who are still kind of young at our age, but not quite aged out and still fighting. So I feel very blessed to be where I am in the sport and to have carried the torch for the time that I did.
One of the guests is asking me to ask you about the fight with Shelly and all of the headbutts. Like, I guess he's asking, like, how did you get through that fight and dealing with the constant headbutting?
Um, I don't remember. I mean, she's about a foot and a half shorter than me, so unless she was on the step stool, I don't know how she was headbutting me. I don't really remember those kind of things from my fights, sadly.
Right, right, exactly. Um, One of the things I wanted to ask you is that, you know, you had a daughter all throughout your career. Like, how did you deal with like healthcare and just like basic stuff with her? Like, because I know that you're a trainer, you don't really you don't have like a health care from an actual like job. You're a hustler. Like how were you able to obtain these things as a fighter? Because I know a lot of fighters, they're not unable to obtain health care or don't know how to.
Yeah, Annie's got it through her father. So Annie was
Okay.
covered. She still is. So that gratefully was one less problem I had.
But what about yourself?
I stayed so active in the last, 12 years, 15 if you count my amateur career. And I was always covered surrounding my fights. So, and linked to the fight doctors if I had you know, say, oh, I got a stuffy nose, someone would call me in a Z-Pack or something, Solids in the community.
And that's crazy that like we don't have, as a boxing community, that we just don't have, that's just not something that we're able to acquire. What do you think that the boxing community can do in order to, ease that for fighters? Like, do you think that there should be a union that started, or something that, promoters pay into in order for, fighters and their families to receive some sort of health care?
That's a really tricky one because in order to be eligible for healthcare, you have to be on a company's payroll, and every fighter is an independent contractor. So to even think that we could get healthcare is really crazy. And I say that from the promotional side of the aspect, or from any other side of it, right? Like, then sure, it's simple to say, I'm a fighter, I should have health insurance. But when you're a fighter, you're also an independent contractor and you're making a decision that you work for yourself. So there's really nobody that you can make sense to put on the hook, I think, for health insurance. I think what the commission should need to do is offer longer term health care, because after fights you get like 6 weeks for checkups and follow-ups, and for world title fights or really dangerous fights or fights with incidentals, I think that health insurance should cover as long as you need for the fights, and that should be a fight that active fighters should participate in. Because if I have a head trauma from a fight in January, my health insurance shouldn't expire in June. It should expire when that head trauma resolved. So that is a problem I always felt from my chest, that boxing kind of just leaves you and forgets you and lets you go. And as long as I only have to worry about you for a month, I don't care if you can't say a name next year. That's not cool.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not. Have you ever had any like reoccurring injuries that, from a fight that came on later, and that you just were like, I just can't go see a doctor now?
No, Sarah, because if I said that, then they wouldn't pass me for my physicals, right? And I have to get my licensing, so that would be crazy. And I'm also very, 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 what do you call that? Resourceful. And if I had ever had a problem with one of my fights, I'm very blessed for the community that I have in New York, because you know how it is in Brooklyn. You call somebody, and their uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, aunt can get your
Everybody knows
prescription.
someone. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
know me. So I was blessed and very, very fortunate in that sense, that when I started boxing, I knew what I was walking into, and I was just prepared for all that bullshit. And any advice I give to my younger girls is that, walking into something, it's easy to say it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. But you gotta come prepared to deal with the bullshit while you're saying it's not fair, right?
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like you came up the hard way, and like, but you've made up so many friends in boxing. Like, everybody seems to love you. But how do you feel about, like, women like Ronica? You're always, we love Ronica, me and you both, right? What do you think the problem was there? Why do you think she didn't receive the same kind of love and affection from the community like you did?
That's a really hard one for me to say, and I wouldn't even ha- have the audacity to comment, right? Like, how do I know how Veronica came up? I don't even know what she did, what was available, what was around for me. That was all before my boxing time. When I came into the boxing, when I stepped one foot in Gleason's gym, Veronica was the world champion already. The
Mm-hmm.
first time I sparred with her, I maybe was 6 months in, and she got in the ring and didn't even have to, like, take her fucking hearings out. That's how it was with me and Veronica. I would never sit here and try to assume what them girls did right or wrong, or what was better or worse for them. The only thing I can say off the bat that helped me that they didn't have was social media. And we're talking an overlap of 2 or 3 years. I was able to connect with everybody and they couldn't.
And what? I'm sorry, you cut out.
I was able to connect with everybody and they couldn't, you know.
Right, right. And that's something that you really did really well, was the social media and like pushing that. Did you have help from your promoter at all? Like when you were with Lou, did he assist you with that? Or was that
No.
just something you did on your own?
No, I had a degree, like I have a background, not a degree. I have a background in marketing. It's what I did before boxing for a while. So I was able to apply that to a lot of the athletic shit I had to do and the business shit I had to do. I was just doing that myself.
Mm. So, going forward in this sport, like what are your goals now? Like, do you want to be a coach? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to promote? Because I know that you did some stuff with Larry with Boxing Insider. Like, what is what does life look like for Heather 10 years from now?
So, I mean, I really was hoping that I'd have my contract signed. Sadly, I can't talk about my next fight for another couple days, but I'm getting ready in a few days from now to go into a fight camp. So I'm still an active fighter, and at the same time, I've kind of like you said, I've been working with Larry in Boxing Insider, and he had his first show a year ago. He's done 10 shows in the meantime, and I've helped. I say help that I'm not employed with Larry. I don't work for Larry. I work with Larry as an advisor. Like I help him with the boxing end of it. He's the business end, and I know the guys in the commission, and I've been making matches and doing all that shit. So, yeah, moving forward, I really see myself playing some sort of role with whatever Larry has coming up next year. We have a show March 7th in Times Square. I'm pushing tickets out of Gleason's. I had to sneak that in. But after the show, we got some exciting news to roll out that I can't wait to start talking about. And I started my own advisory company. I'm now working with the sports management team. Oof, the battery's gone now. With the sports management team, Critical Sports and Entertainment. I'm the advisor for boxing. And as they sign on new clients, they're offering legal services and social media marketing. And all I got to do is get them fights. It's like the easiest thing in the world.
That that's some, I don't know about easy because I've been doing that a while, and it's never really just cut and dry, you know.
Oh,
It's
no,
no
no,
one's
no. When
ever
I
really
say
happy.
easy, I'll tell you what, you asked me to be a world champion. Yeah, it's easy. Easy meaning I know the formula, right?
Right.
It's easy
Well,
because I'm gonna
well,
tell
it's
you how
like,
to
do we
do it.
actually like know the formula now? Because it's so different. Like the landscape is so different now than it's ever been. You have fights going to Saudi Arabia. You have Jake Paul. You have, these social media boxers. Like, there's really not a blueprint anymore.
And I think that's beautiful. That means that anyone who walks into Gleason's gym or any boxing gym you go in, if you walk in there with an open heart, open to receive what boxing is given to you, let it tell you what your path is, whether it be to be a world champion or a Golden Gloves champion, or, maybe Steven Spielberg walks in and figures, shit, you are going to be the next, but whatever. Feel me? Like if boxing is your path and boxing is your calling, I'm living proof. Don't let nothing deter it, right? Like Fina, I think for my pro debut, I was making $50 a round. That's not even uncommon. I know girls
No,
who
it's
fought for
not.
$50 a round fighting for a world title. So when I sit where I sit, being able to take the calls for the titles, do I take this fight? Do I take that fight? Having the choice to choose, man. Nobody would have thought that shit 10 years ago. People would have laughed in my face if I said what I thought women's boxing could go to. So I think these girls are in a great spot. The sport is in a great spot. Did the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you ever get into bare knuckle boxing?
It's been talked about.
You are a fan.
My mother never put gloves on. Feel me? My mother never put gloves on.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, there's that.
Yep.
Yeah, man, like it's the sport is so crazy now. What is your favorite part of working behind the scenes? Is it matchmaking? Is it the marketing? Is it the signing the new fighters? Is it just advising fighters on like how to move in their career?
Um, I think it's been a little bit of everything, right? Like it's really shown me how big my toolbox is. Because whenever somebody goes, "Yo, heat," I'm like, "Oh, I could help with that. Oh yeah, I could do that. I know that guy, or I could figure that out." For me, and then it made me realize, like, yeah, for the last 10 years, maybe I never see the paychecks that the girls will see in the next 10 years, but the amount of knowledge I gained, I can literally say this right now. In I forgot more about boxing than most people walking around could learn because of
Yeah.
everything I did for the last 10 years. Very few people have walked through and opened the doors that I did. You understand? So I feel very confident in that fact that I might not be walking with money right now, but I'm walking with so much of this shit. So much.
Yeah, boxing's one of those things to where
Mama, I am on 2%. This is going to go
uh
out. I got like a minute with you.
well, listen, we can cut it short, but I just want to just thank you for everything that you've given the sport, given to me as a friend. I admire you. I admire you for being a mom and doing and accomplishing everything that you've accomplished in the sport. Um,
Well,
and
thank you,
I
Sarah.
mean,
I have to stop you there because I mean, everybody who knows what I've done, in the sport should know everything you've done behind the scenes for a lot of these girls who didn't have representation at the time, who didn't have someone to speak to them. At the time, you were the one for the girls who was opening the doors and yelling really loud, and you were doing it all with your daughter, who is the same age as Annie or maybe a year older. So you give me that credit because you walked the same walk I did. And
exactly,
I know that
exactly.
one day I'm going to be talking to the girl who I watch walk a little bit further than I did. Feel me?
Hmm.
So, girl, I'm here for you. I'm about to hang up, though, on accident because I'm running out.
All right, babe. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you. I see you at the gym.
All right, team hats. See you later, girl.
Yes, ma'am. New
Bye.
York. Peace.